Hello and welcome to the Crystal Palace podcast. I'm Alfonso Greenbrook, and today in Pod 27 I'll be looking at the result of Bolton by bringing you my match review, player rankings and my man of the match. As well as this, I'm also going to bring you an exclusive interview with Sam Allardyce, Julian Speroni and Remy after the game. So let's begin. Palace and Bolton Wanderers will have to face off one more time to try and reach the FA Cup 4th round as they played out a goalless draw at the Macron Stadium. Sam Allardyce couldn't quite find a way to claim his first win as Eagles boss against his former club, with both sides hitting the woodwork during the encounter. However, they will have to be separated at Selhurst Park in a replay, with neither goalkeeper being beaten during the 90 minutes. There were early chances for both sides, and on his Eagles debut, Remy dragged the game's first effort wide, before Julian Speroni, on the occasions of his record 389th appearance as a Palace goalkeeper, was called into action to push away a fierce blast from James Henry after the midfielder cut inside from the right. Henry was the biggest goal threat in the early stages, and he tested the Eagles keeper again on 14 minutes when he drove goals from 25 yards out, but Speroni claimed the shot, and then he was afforded a free header following a tailored cross, but nodded a good chance over. Something that Gary Madeline was also guilty of a couple minutes later, as the Trotters enjoyed the better of the opening exchanges. However, Palace grew into the game and had a good spell of their own. Remy then went close again when a neat backkill by Fraser Campbell gave him a sight on goal, but when Alwick was equals to his 20-yard effort. And then on 30 minutes the visitors had a great opportunity to take the lead, when Campbell broke away, jinked into the area and teed up Matthew Flamley, but when one-on-one with Alwick, the Frenchman skied over. They went closer 3 minutes later when Remy once again took aim and thumped a powerful blast from outside the box against the base of the post, and on a lively debut for the striker saw a toe poke from a tight angle flicked away by the boot of Alwick as the Eagles probed for an opener. Remy came off at half time after a useful 45 minutes under his belt, but once again Bolton started the half brighter and Henry was at the forefront once again. He should have put the host in the lead when he connected with a J-Spearing cross at the back post 6 yards out, but his side-footed volley flew well off target, and then a couple minutes later he picked up a loose ball and struck a sweet effort from 30 yards, which wasn't too far away off the top of Speroni's net. Allardyce's side's first opportunity of the second 45 came when Joe Ledley's flicked header was stopped by Alwick, but Wanderers broke and then came so close to snatching the lead when Joss Weller got on the end of a Henry delivery, but saw his header come off the post with Speroni beaten. Chances were harder to come by as the mist rolled around the ground as the game neared its conclusion, but Henry would have one more attempt as he saw a shot deflected into the side netting with 7 minutes remaining, and from the resulting corner Remy product headed tamely at Speroni as the side scraped it out for a replay in S1E27 later this month. Now for some statistics from the game. Possession: 47% Bolton, 53% Crystal Palace. Shots on goal: 13 for Bolton and 9 for Crystal Palace. Shots on target: 3 for Bolton and 3 for Crystal Palace. Corners: 6 for Bolton and 6 for Crystal Palace. And fouls: 10 from Bolton and 5 from Crystal Palace. It was seen as a potential banana slip for Crystal Palace as they travelled to North West to take on League One side Bolton Wanderers, and it proved to be a difficult tie for the Eagles. Both sides hit the woodwork and had several chances to win the game, but they couldn't be separated at the Macron Stadium and will have to do it all over again at Selhurst Park on Tuesday, January 17th. But what did we learn from the game? Here are 5 things. Number 1. Julian Speroni has still got it. The goalkeeper came in for his record-breaking 389th appearance in a Crystal Palace shirt, and he made a couple of fine saves early on to deny James Henry, proving that a lengthy spell out of the team has not affected his ability to perform, as he kept a clean sheet to mark the occasion. Number 2. Forward thinking. Remy made his long-awaited debut for Crystal Palace following his injury troubles, and he was a threat, hitting the post with a well-driven effort from 25 yards out in the first half. He combined well with Fraser Campbell and offered Palace something different, with the Frenchman looking sharp in his first 45 minutes in the Palace shirt. Number 3. Returning heroes. Crystal Palace midfielder Lee Chung-yong and boss Sam Allardyce were both returning to the Macron Stadium and both received a warm welcome from the home fans. It wasn't quite the result they were hoping for, but they now get to face their old side again in 9 days' time. Number 4. Shooting practice for Henry. James Henry had several shots at Julian Speroni's goal during the course of the game, and for the majority of the game looked like the most likely scorer for the hosts. But whilst he drew a couple of saves from Speroni, he was unable to find a way past. And number 5. Staking their claim. This was a chance for many Palace players to come in and impress, and the performances were okay, but nothing more. Players like Chung-yong Lee, Fraser Campbell and Jordan Much were neat and tidy, and certainly put in an effort to try and make things happen, but didn't quite come off. As a result, Palace were left with what they probably didn't want, a replay. So now you've had the match review, we're now going to move on to the player rankings. But before we start, don't forget to follow us across social media on Twitter and Facebook at Crystal Palace for all the latest news. And for all you Facebook users out there, don't forget to check out our Facebook group so you can join in with the latest discussions, read the latest news and post your own opinion. So like I said there, if you're on social media and you do want to get in contact with us, then of course you can follow us at both Twitter and Facebook using at Crystal Palace. Now obviously I highly do recommend you do follow us, because on both of these pages, both on Twitter and Facebook, we do regularly update it with the latest news, and that is including transfer rumours in the run up to January transfer window. So we're currently in the transfer window, so if you do want to keep up to date with all of the rumours and all of the sort of deals, then of course do go and follow us. And obviously as well as this, you know, when we're not in the transfer window, if you do want to keep up to date with all things Palace, and that's including player and manager interviews, as well as having say in some of the Twitter polls we post, then of course I recommend you do follow us. And obviously in the introduction I said about the Facebook group, you know, if you're on Facebook, I would definitely highly recommend, like I do with the Twitter and Facebook pages, I would highly recommend you do join the Facebook group, which you can find using the at Crystal Palace group. And obviously I highly recommend you do join this group, because on there after the game, quite a lot of fans, including myself, go on there to post their own opinion on the game, of players and how they felt about the performance, go and post pictures of the game, anything like that. You can go on the Facebook group and post it there for everyone to see. And also, if you want to, you know, have your say on the game and post your opinion and also read and comment on other people's opinion, then of course you can go onto the Facebook group and do that. And the best way to get involved with other fans is obviously to join our Facebook group, and that's why I would recommend you do join it. And obviously, much like the Facebook and Twitter pages, you know, on this Facebook group we do regularly update you with the latest news, and also, you know, we do update you when the next podcast is coming out. So if you do want to follow any of these social media groups, obviously on Twitter and Facebook, then obviously do check the links in the description below. Or of course, like I said already, you can search for them using the apps. But you know, if you are listening to the podcast on YouTube, you know, do drop a comment below the video on what you thought. You don't necessarily have to go on the group. Just, you know, drop a comment below of what you thought and who you thought the standout player was for Palace. And obviously, when people go to view the video, they can see your comment and see what you thought about the game. But obviously, in the last few weeks, I've set a challenge for listeners, you know, to list their player rankings and give ratings for all of the players from 1 to 10. Obviously, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. And obviously that's just summarising how you thought the players performed throughout the game. And like I said at the beginning, quite a lot of people have come onto this idea now and have commented below in the YouTube comments, you know, their player rankings. So this week, if you do want to do the same, then of course comment below the video with your player rankings so I can compare mine, because obviously I go through all of the players, giving them ratings from 1 to 10, but do comment below your one so I can compare them to mine and see whether we had a similar outlook of the game, see whether we thought all of the players, you know, had the sort of similar standard of play, let's say, throughout the game. And also, you know, do feel free to comment below anything else you thought about the game, whether it be the man of the match, who had the biggest influence of the game, maybe if there was a controversial decision, do drop a comment below the video just to share your opinion of this. And obviously, if you're not listening to the podcast on YouTube, then of course, like I've said already, go onto the Facebook group, share your opinion on there so others can see it. But you know, I've said this already, if you do want to keep up to date with all things Palace, just don't forget to follow us on both Twitter and Facebook so you can get all the latest news, transfer news, and also get updated when the next podcasts are coming out. But that is, once again, Twitter and Facebook, and you can find the links in the description below. In this week's player rankings, as it was an FA Cup week, I'm not going to give you a full overview of the players' performances, as not as many people have as much interest in the Cup as they do in the league, and also because this season more people have prioritised the league so we can concentrate on staying up, and not a cup run which can often distract you from your league form. The Cup is also an opportunity for fringe players to get a chance, so the games may not always be as interesting as other games in the league, and that certainly was apparent in the game against Bolton. But do comment below with your views and opinions on the Cup, and whether you think a Cup run would be good for the confidence of the players, or whether, like what I think, it can distract us from our league form. But obviously, I've said it already, I personally would have liked a small cup run, obviously to give some fringe players the chance to impress. But obviously our priority this season is to stay in the Premier League, so the cup really isn't as important, and like we saw last season, it can distract us from our league form, so we don't want to be distracted. So obviously this week, I've said this already, all I'm going to do is just give you a small summary of the game like I did in the Southampton game in the EFL Cup. I'm just going to give you a little summary, a little paragraph of the player performances as well as their ratings. Instead of just going into detail and explaining their performance, I'm just going to give you one statement about their performance and then move on to the next player. And obviously the only reason I'm doing this is because I know that not most people are more interested in the league, and they're not really that interested in the cup as they disregard it, let's say. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make the podcast, I'm trying to please everyone by obviously not putting too much detail into this one, as I know that not many people are interested in it. But obviously if you do want to hear my opinion in more detail about the player performances, then obviously if you're on YouTube, drop a comment below, or if you are listening to on iTunes, then obviously contact us on social media. But do comment below with your opinions, and also if you do want me to explain it, then obviously say so, so I can just explain in a little more detail about my opinion on the player performances. And obviously I will reply with my summary, just explaining in a little bit more detail, which I didn't do in the video, what I thought about the players' performances. And obviously you can do the same as well. You know, if you've got something which I didn't mention, then drop it below in a comment, so obviously I can see it and other fans can see it. And obviously if you do listen on to the end of the podcast before the player and manager interviews, I obviously normally give you my man of the match. I'm still going to do that, and obviously do listen on to that bit at the end, because I do explain the performances of the 4 nominations. So if you do want to hear a little bit more detail about the 4 best players, and of course listen to the man of the match section, because I do go over these 4 players in quite a lot of detail, just to give you an idea of how good they were in trying to help Palace get a result in the game. But obviously I'm now going to move on to the player rankings, starting in goal with the record-breaking Julian Speroni, who I'm going to give a 10. Record breaker. Some good saves and a clean sheet. All that was missing was a win, but the day belonged to him. Before going to Joe Ward, I'm just going to give you some of Speroni's career stats from his time at Palace, starting with the main one, which is the record he broke for the most appearances for a Crystal Palace goalkeeper, leaving him with 389 appearances for Crystal Palace. So in that time he's had 108 clean sheets, he's had 11 managers, 2.5 chairmen, 1 administration, 11 yellow cards, 1 relegation, 1 promotion, 1 testimonial match, 9 penalty saves and 2 hairstyles. So do check out my Speroni tribute video Manos de Dios I made on the YouTube channel to see some of his best bits and highlights from his time at Palace. Obviously one of them being the main save he made to get Palace promoted to the Premier League. But all that's left for me to say and all of the fans to say is congratulations Julian on breaking the record, being a fantastic and loyal servant and keeper for Palace, obviously being a really nice guy, and obviously for being an all-round Palace legend. Now to move on to the back 4 of Joe Ward, Zeki Fries, Martin Kelly and Damien Delaney. Starting with Joe Ward, who I'm going to give a 7. Maybe should have got forward more than he did, but wasn't troubled too much and put in a very solid performance. Zeki Fries, a 7. He had a big afternoon up against the wireless James Henry, who was Bolton's main threat all game. He did all right and didn't do much wrong. Martin Kelly, a 7. Moved into the middle of defence and welcomed it. Looked confident and was hardly troubled by Gary Medine in the Bolton attack. And Damien Delaney, a 7. Put in some decent blocks and it was the usual committed performance from the Irishman. Now to move on to the midfield 3 of Matthew Flamini, Joe Ledley, Jordan Much and Lee Chung-yong. Starting with Matthew Flamini, who I'm going to give a 6. Held midfield well and was another game to get his match fitness up. Should have scored in the first half but narrowly shot over. Joe Ledley, a 7. Good to see him continue his comeback from a calf injury. Good awareness and it was a good stroll in the park for him against League 1 opposition. Jordan Much, a 5. Looked comfortable but wasn't always in the right areas. Maybe should have got into more goal scoring positions. And Lee Chung-yong, a 6. His return to Bolton went fine, and he did okay out wide. Did he take his chance to fill Zaha's position? Probably not, and he has a bit more work to do. As you may have guessed already, with Palace playing a 4-4-2 formation, that leaves us with the 2 forwards up front with Remy and Fraser Campbell. Starting with Remy, who I'm going to give an 8. A good performance on his Palace debut. Impressive 45 minutes after returning from injury. Eager to get on the ball, was quick, running off the ball and looked interested. Struck the post and had another good chance saved. Stay fit and Palace could have a player on their hands. And Fraser Campbell, his partner, a 6. He does some great running off the ball and takes markers away from him. It's just his end product was lacking. This would have been the ideal game for him to get a goal or two. Now to move on to the three substitutes of Yohan Cabaye, Andros Townsend and Solly Kaikai, starting with Yohan Cabaye, who I'm going to give a 7. Brought on to add an extra dimension and he did so well, sporting another new hairstyle. Andros Townsend a 7. Gave it a good go out wide, always wanting the ball and trying to get balls in the box. But once again it was against lower league opposition, so you would expect him to do so. And Solly Kaikai no rating as he wasn't on the pitch long enough to make an impact. Brought on late on and played up front. Maybe should have come on sooner as the fans were eager to see him in action. So they were the player rankings including the bench, so do obviously comment below what you think about the players' performances and whether you do agree with what I said. Obviously it was a very mixed game from Palace. Obviously you would expect against lower league opposition you would try and get a result, but obviously in our case, you know, it was a 0-0 draw. But actually quite a lot of the games in the FA Cup third round were ended in draws, including big clubs. So actually you could say it was a pretty good game for Palace, considering that we had sort of our second string team with the likes of Jordan Much, Lee Chung-yong, these sort of players playing. So you wouldn't expect us to be fantastic throughout the game, but you would expect us to put up a contest against Bolton. And actually, you know, we did do that, but obviously Bolton rose to the occasion and obviously resulted in us getting a draw. And obviously in the next few weeks we'll get the replay, and hopefully at Selhurst Park with the home atmosphere, maybe with a few players coming back from injury, hopefully we can push on, just get the result and look forward to Man City in the next round if we do get through. But obviously, you know, it all depends on which team we put up against Bolton in the next round and whether we put in a good performance. But hopefully, like I said already, with the new players coming in or coming back from injury and obviously the home advantage, hopefully we can use that to our advantage. But certainly I've given you the player rankings here. There was quite a mix, you know, some of the fringe players did okay and some of the more first team players were good, and that's why I've given a Ray from a 5 for Jordan Much, let's say, and an 8 for Remy. You know, we had first team players or players come back from injury doing really well, and some of the fringe players like Lee Chung-yong and, you know, Jordan Much, they didn't really take the opportunity as good as they would have liked. But certainly do comment below with what you think and whether you do agree with my player rankings. And obviously Julian Speroni, the man of the moment, I've given him the 10, and that's purely because of how loyal he has been to the club, and obviously for the fact he broke the record. But actually, if you're looking at his performance as a whole, like actually the saves he made, not the fact he broke the record, you'll probably give him an 8 for his performance, because, you know, he commanded well from corners, was always up to claim the ball, tried to get high, obviously made crucial saves throughout the game which kept us in the game, and also, you know, he formed a good partnership with the centre back. So if we're looking at Speroni in particular, you know, I've given him the 10 because he broke the record, he's been so loyal to the club, and obviously he had a good game on top of that, and because the day actually belonged to him. But actually, realistically, actually looking at his performance, is maybe a 7 or 8, because it was a good performance from him, and it shows that even when you're not on the pitch or you're not playing games regularly and you're still training, it just shows that you don't lose your touch, and he's still a pretty decent goalkeeper. And actually some people are calling for him to be in the next Premier League game, and considering Allardyce has said that Wayne Hennessy's picked up a slight knock before this game, and the fact that Mandanda's still injured, maybe this could be the first Premier League start for Julian Speroni, but who knows. But on this performance alone, I think I can certainly see him doing that. Obviously last few weeks in the league games, I've given you sort of ratings of the areas of the team. I'm going to do that once again. I'm going to give the defence a 7. Pretty solid performance, one of our first clean sheets in quite a long time, so nothing really wrong there. Dealt with the threat of Bolton, except Henry, you know, we dealt with that threat pretty well. Same with the midfield, you know, the role, we were playing quite a narrow formation in the first half, so the midfield was trying to give cover and trying to create down the middle. We did create quite a lot of opportunities, getting the ball up to Remy and Campbell so they could use the ball. They've done that very well, and obviously the attack as well, we were pretty good going forward. You know, we hit the bar, we made the Bolton keeper make saves, so good performance from the attack, a 7 for them. And considering Remy's only just come back from his injury and he's played 1 or 2 training games, he actually looked really sharp. He looked fast on and off the ball and linked up very well with Fraser Campbell. That sort of partnership, passing balls off of each other, playing off of each other, doing sort of spin-offs and back heels, all of that sort of partnership worked really well, and that's why the attack is given a 7. You know, it would only have taken their keeper to make a mistake and not make the save, or the fact that the ball had gone a few inches to the left and had gone in and not hit the post, it would have taken that to change the game. But certainly a good team, good performance from the whole team. Obviously 7s all around. Once again, like I said already, the defence, you know, fairly solid. First clean sheet in a long time. Kept the threat of Bolton quite down, quite low. Same with the midfield, protecting the back four. Done that very well, but also acted as a sort of connection between the attackers and the midfield. That worked very well, getting the ball to them. And obviously the attackers, when they had the ball on their counter-attack, Remy and Campbell using their pace, doing layoffs to each other, and actually all of that worked well in trying to create opportunities. But I've said this already at the beginning, I've got 4 bullet points, just sort of summarising the game really. If you weren't at the game or haven't watched the highlights, which I'm sure you probably have, but it was a very good game from Palace. We put up a contest with a second string side with players who haven't really played with fringe players, and actually it was a real end-to-end game. A really good game for the neutral to watch. Balls going from one end of the pitch to the other, counter-attacks from both teams, and actually you say it was a real end-to-end game. We had chances. We hit the post and we were unlucky with a few of them. Our goalkeeper Speroni made loads of saves on his record appearance. He was making these saves, keeping us in the game. Same with the Bolton goalkeeper. Remy hit the bar. Bolton also had chances. They hit the bar as well. And obviously Speroni made the saves. They hit shots over. We hit one over and had one of them hit the bar. So, it was a real end-to-end game. Both teams had chances. Both goalkeepers made saves. Both teams hit the bar. Both teams missed their chances. So actually, as an all-round game, a one for the neutral to watch, let's say, a really good game from Palace, considering we were playing with a weaker side, with a few players who haven't played all season, and also just sort of, not putting as much effort into it because you want to keep your energy for the league games. It just showed, a good performance from Palace. But do comment below with what you think about the game, whether you think, or you've got a positive outlook like I have, or you think it's because it was a bore draw, there wasn't really much to watch throughout the game. And actually, considering it was a League One side, you maybe would have expected it to be a stroll in the park, let's say, because you would take advantage of playing a lower league opposition. But certainly it was a very even game. Both teams had chances. A very good game from Palace, but real end-to-end game. And to be honest, we talk about a good cup tie, a good game for the neutral. This certainly was, because it had lots of attacking threat, lots of good defending, and all in all, a very good cup tie. So now to move on to the man of the match award. But before I do that and give you my man of the match and who I thought had the biggest influence of the game, I'm just going to give you the results of my Twitter poll. So obviously if you do want to vote in next week's Twitter poll and have your opinion heard on who you thought the best player was throughout the game, and obviously the player who had the biggest influence of the game, then of course you can vote in next week's Twitter poll. Now the poll isn't run by Crystal Palace, it's actually run by my own personal Twitter account, which you can find at the CPC podcast. So obviously do give me a follow so you can vote in next week's poll, but also do give me a follow because much like the Crystal Palace account, I do regularly update you with the latest news. So if you do want to keep up to date with all the news, player interviews, manager interviews, as well as the transfer window as we're currently in, if you do want to keep up to date with all of that news, then of course do give me a follow. And also after games, much like or unlike other accounts, I do retweet quite a lot of fan opinions. So if you want to hear what other fans had to say about the game and their opinion, I do follow quite a lot of fans and retweet it so you can get different opinions from the game. But obviously I said it already, you can find my account at the CPC podcast. And obviously, most weeks I give 4 nominations, and actually, there could have been other players I could have put on the shortlist. If I've said this already, I've said this in past weeks, if I had more than 4 nomination slots on Twitter, I would probably put more players in there. But I'll say this already, I've said this already, but I'll say it again. There could have been a few other players, because actually, considering we did draw against a good Bolton side, with a weaker team, and we had a pretty good performance. I've talked about in the player rankings, I gave the whole team a 7 out of 10 because, the defence were good. They kept the first clean sheet. The midfield were good at protecting the back line, but also, getting forward. And obviously the attack were pretty prominent as well, especially in the first half. So it was actually a really good all-round performance for us, in the way the team performed. But obviously we didn't get the result we wanted. But I'll put these 4 players down. And actually, if you look at the 4 nominations, I've got a goalkeeper, a defender, a midfielder, / winger, and obviously a forward. So it just shows that actually, there's been quite a lot of difference. All of the team put in good efforts, across the whole team. And obviously that's resulted in here having players from all parts of the position. So it just shows there was no position that was under par. There was no position that was fantastic. The whole team worked together to try and get a result. And that's why I used the word all-round good performance, because it was, all of the team put in good efforts. But just to give you the results of the Twitter poll, starting in 4th place with 2% of the votes was Joe Ward. Closely followed up in 3rd place with 5% of the vote is Chung-yong Lee, and then a massive gap to 2nd place with 23% of the votes was Remy, which unsurprisingly really the winner of this week's man of the match poll for the game against Bolton was Julian Speroni, the record breaker, with an outstanding 70% of the vote. So congratulations, Julian. You don't get a trophy or certificate, but you do get my sincere congratulations on what was a very solid performance from you. You know, one of the first clean sheets in a long time for Palace, and also congratulations on breaking the record. Now, obviously, I'm just going to go through why I've put these 4 players on there, and obviously, you probably heard in the player rankings there summary, but I said at the beginning, you know, if you want to hear a little bit more about certain players, then listen to the man of the match section. Obviously, Julian Speroni, I've given him a 10 out of 10 in the player rankings, and that's because, yes, he had a pretty good performance, he kept a clean sheet, but also because he broke the record. And we can say now, clearly say, he is a club legend. We've said that for years now, you know, the fact that he's been loyal to the club, the fact that he's made fantastic saves, he's been with us for the ups and downs, but actually, now he's broken the record and he's actually in the club history. I'm sure that we can say that, you know, he is a club legend. But obviously, he broke the club record, which is fantastic. That's a massive achievement, and you're going to be in the player rankings once you get to such a level in your career. But also, you know, he came into the side not having played in a few months, but actually, you know, made some good saves from Henry on the wing. You know, got down low, got high to make these saves, good from corners. And also, it's a clean sheet. You know, we haven't had clean sheets in quite a long time, and actually, it's nice when a player comes in, they keep a clean sheet. You know, but I said this already, he's won this by a majority, and I'll say it now, he wins my man of the match because obviously how good he was in the game, making the saves, keeping the clean sheet, but because he broke the record. That's fantastic, the fact that he's implanted himself in Palace's history, and I'd just like to congratulate him, and that's why I've given him the man of the match, because he was, like I said already, fantastic in the game, but his commitment over the last sort of 12, 13 years has been fantastic to the club, and hopefully, you know, like most goalkeepers do, he can carry on till later in his career and maybe stay at Palace for another 2-3 seasons, because, you know, certainly his experience can be useful for us. Obviously, Joe Ward, you know, only 2% of people voted for him, but that's only because, you know, most people voted for Julian Speroni. But Joe Ward, out of all of the defenders, he was probably the best. You know, he was pretty solid throughout the back. And, you know, defensively he was sound. You know, I said it would have been better if he'd gone forward, but with the formation we were playing, we would want to go down the middle, so we didn't really need the attack from the wings. But certainly a fairly solid performance from him. Chung-yong Lee, once again, like Ward, only 5% people voted for him, and that's purely because Speroni and Remy took most of the votes. But obviously, Lee Chung-yong, going back to his old club, you know, you would expect players to sort of up their game against their old club, and he done alright. You know, he did okay out wide. Obviously, where we were playing a mainly sort of narrow formation, when he was meant to play out wide, he didn't really have that much impact. And obviously, I talked about the formation. You know, in the first half, he was used as the winger, or he was the only winger in the first half, which meant that when the team were playing narrow, he was playing sort of centre, which was good. And then in the second half, we brought Andros Townsend on Kabai, which meant that, you know, he was pushed out wide and didn't really have that much impact. But certainly, you know, his influence on the game, his I can't think of the word, his ball retention, let's say, the fact that he keeps the ball, keeps possession, tries to get forward, them sort of things were good about his game. And obviously, when you go back to your former club, you would expect the player to put out, you know, try and do their best. And certainly, from what we've seen this season, it was a pretty good performance from him. And obviously, look, Remy making his debut for the club, absolutely fantastic debut. You know, how we've longed to see him play for a Palace shirt. We thought maybe because he hasn't played in about 4 months, he may not be up to scratch, but he looks fantastic. You know, he's eager to get on the ball. He's got that enthusiasm. Obviously, where he's had the injury, he's recovered from that. He's still quick off the ball, you know, linking up well with Campbell, running off the ball as well, so using his pace to run past the defender to get on the end of the ball, and actually looked interested. You know, he tried to get a result. You know, he had the shot which hit the bar, he had a few shots which the keeper saved, so actually showing, you know, how good he was. And obviously, I've said this already, he was unlucky that he struck the post. You know, that gone in, he would have scored in his debut, and he had another good chance as well. That gone in, he would have scored as well. So it's just showing that his eagerness, his willingness, his pace, his ability to find a pass, his shooting, all of that is why I've put him on the shortlist. And that's obviously why 23% of people have voted for him, rather than the 2 and 5 that voted for Ward and Chung-yong Lee, is purely because, like Remy, he had a little bit more influence on the game. But certainly, all of these players, you know, it's clear Julian Speroni's run it. I've said this already, you know, he was fantastic in the game, kept a clean sheet, but his commitment to the club and the fact that he broke the record is why I've put him on there, and I wish him all the best. I congratulate him, and if you do want to watch a compilation I'll put on the channel of all of his saves from his career, sort of a tribute video I made called Manos de Dios, which means Hands of the Gods. If you do want to go and check that out, check the link in the description below, or go on the channel and watch that video, because it just summarises really how much of a fantastic keeper and just legend that Speroni's made. The fact that he made these saves, but fantastic performance from him. Same with Joe Ward, very good defensively. Chung-yong Lee done all right down the middle and out wide. Didn't get affected by the fact he was playing at his old club. Honestly, Remy on his debut for the club, he looked fantastic. Hit the bar. Had a good chance saved. Was very quick, runs off the ball. So a good performance from the whole team. But these players stood out for me just because they went the extra mile. So now you've heard my match report, player rankings and my man of match. That concludes this week's podcast. Now I've got an exclusive interview with Sam Allardyce, Julian Speroni and Remy following the game.
Julian, you've now made more appearances than any goalkeeper in the club's history. Congratulations.
Say again that, because I couldn't believe it. It's an honor for me. I never thought I was going to get to this number. In 2004 when I signed for the club, and the fact that I'm here now, it's just amazing. I've been blessed. I said it before. I've been blessed with the people that worked for the club all these years, with teammates, and I couldn't be happier.
389 appearances. That was your 108th clean sheet today as well. So great to get a clean sheet.
That was even better. Made the day perfect. Sadly, we couldn't win it in the end, but we're looking forward to the replay at home.
And do you think it was good for the team to get that clean sheet, especially after the recent run?
It is. It's always a boost in confidence, when you keep a clean sheet, for the not only for the back four and the goalkeeper, but also for the whole team. Keep a clean sheet as a whole team, and that helps you to move on into the next game. Hopefully, we'll get more clean sheets. That's what we need. That's what we're focusing at the moment. So looking forward to that.
And great sport for the fans today. About 1,400 travelled down and had the Manos de Dios banner up as well.
I can't thank them enough. I just don't know what to say, because they keep amazing me. They keep, what they show every time I step on that pitch. The love I get from them. It's just incredible. I can't thank them enough. I throw my gloves into the stand. I wanted to throw my shirt, but then I remember my wife wanted that shirt when I break the record. So I thought I better don't do it, because she's gonna be mad. But hey, I want to give them everything. Every time I step on that pitch, I just go there and give my best, because that's what they deserve.
You definitely had the chance to impress the manager. Your 11th manager, I think, since you've been
something like that. Yeah.
Been at the club. And I suppose looking ahead, do you want to get another game at Selhurst Park?
Yeah, people ask me about this record and stuff, and I say, well, I'm not aiming to play one more game. One game to break the record. Hopefully I can play more than that, and that's what I'm aiming for. That's what I prepare myself, in training every single day to get a good run in the team. And so we'll see. Time will tell.
Look, congratulations, your first appearance. How was it?
Yeah, it was okay. I would prefer to have a win at the end of the game, but in my personal point of view, I think we had a good game this afternoon. Now I'm looking forward to the next game, but for me, it's very good to be back in the squad.
You got 45 minutes today. Fitness-wise, is it just a case of building up more and more?
Yeah. We didn't want to be too silly because I just came back. So I talked to the manager before the game. So it was already planned that I should play 45, but now we build him up for the next game, and hopefully I will play more minutes the next game.
And with muscular injuries, sometimes people can feel a bit of nerves before games that anything might happen, but do you feel fully fit?
Yeah, now I feel completely fit, yeah. I had the chance to work with the medical staff, and they did a great job on me. So now, I'm completely fit, and hopefully no more injury for the rest of the season, because I really want to help the team as much as possible to be back in a better position in the table.
And I guess the one positive of having the replay is it's an extra game to get your fitness up.
Yeah, of course. Like we know that where we are in the league, and we know the quality of the squad. So there is no reason that we're not gonna be back in the table. But we need to work. We know it. But now we will see next game, and take game after game, and I'm quite confident about the fact that we will be back.
Sam, into the draw for the next round. What's the general feeling after that one?
I think the misses in the first half are the disappointment on the chances we created, particularly with Fraser and Lorick up front, with the pace that they've got, causing them problems in behind. And not finishing any of those chances was was always going to make life difficult here, and it did all the way to the very, very end, of course. So yes, it's a draw. The pleasing thing for me is the first time for a long time we haven't conceded a goal. First time for me since I've been here, which is something to build on. Seen a lot of the players that haven't played much, to take that into stock over the next couple of days, and hopefully no injuries from today, because we already have far too many, and a couple of lads away on international duty.
And yeah, Loic played 45 minutes today. Obviously, he hasn't played for a long time, but promising signs.
Well, yeah, he wanted to play on, but we want to be very careful with him. It's his first outing at first team level since he joined it. He hadn't played at all up to today's game. So the more games we get, the more minutes we get under his belt, the better he'll become. Hopefully, stays fit and can make a big contribution. And of course, fans today travelled a long way. We didn't give them what they wanted with the victory, but at least hopefully we can finish that off when we play down at our place in the next couple of weeks in the replay. So hopefully they look forward to that. But good support as ever, and like I said, first half I was pleased, really pleased with both the defending and the performance and what we created. Second half wasn't quite as good going forward, but resilient at the back.
And finally, Julian Speroni broke the record today for a goalkeeper at Palace.
Yes, he still used his experience and looked very comfortable today in goal. I think that if they had a shot that hit the post, but he said that if it was going in, he thinks he'd have saved it. He thinks he'd have got a hand on it. So, but it was a dangerous moment for us, and for him it's a great achievement. And of course he's been a great servant for the club, and I think all the fans here love him.
So there you have it. Now you've heard what Sam Allardyce, Julian Speroni and Remy had to say after game. That concludes this week's podcast for the game against Bolton. But make sure to come back next week for my post-match review of the game against West Ham. So thanks for listening, and remember to up the Palace.